Hey, Nana Visitor here, and you are watching Comics Online.
We're excited to have you out here in Chicago. Is this your first time with creation out in Chicago in particular?
I think it is,
Okay.
actually. I think it is.
Well, I had the pleasure of working with them last year. I've spoken with dozens of your peers from the world of Star Trek, but I'm excited to hear your story and learn a little bit more about your experience with the franchise.
Cool.
So I spoke with Jeffrey Combs last year, starting off these interviews. Had a wonderful time with him. But I just
I
wanted to
love
mention
Jeffrey.
I've spoken with him, Sirach, Aaron, Andrew. So I've been working my way through the DS9 family. So I'm excited to add you to that roster as well. But we tend to start off with stories about how you got cast, and I know everyone's got a different experience with the casting process. So would you mind sharing what your experience was like?
Sure. I had just had a baby, and I got this call. They want to see you for this Star Trek thing. I got the sides, and I called my manager and I said, "You made a mistake. This is a man's role. This is not for a woman." And they said, "No, they're looking for a woman for sure." And because as I read it, I got this picture, Major Kira, of a man. She was yelling at the captain, the star of the show. She was talking about how she felt. She was not to be contained. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, this wasn't the kind of role I got put up for. I was playing mm, the not arm candy, but the reason a guy did something. You know, it was like the horrible wife or the sweet wife or the crazy woman. And it was just I couldn't have rushed at this character harder. And I remember going to, I think it was Macy's and buying a khaki green shift dress and a pair of Doc Marten boots. And I didn't have the money for either, but I was determined. And it was very quick. I think there were two auditions, two actual auditions. And joining the actors that I was working with, it's like, are you kidding me? Avery Brooks, Renee Auberjonois, people that I had admired not only as a viewer but as an actor. It was an amazing, chaotic experience.
Well, since you just mentioned him, I would love to ask. I haven't gotten to hear many stories about Renee from DS9. I've spoken with Sirach and heard about Aaron, but I would love to hear. Are there any memories that come to mind, things that you don't necessarily get to talk about with regard to Renee?
I guess what I'd most like to give you a snap. I mean, the way my brain works, I see a picture and then I can describe that picture to you. And what I see is a picture of Renee showing me photos of his family. And the joy, the almost childlike wonder he had at the beauty of his family, of how he felt about them, he was raw humanity. And I treasured my relationship with him. And he didn't suffer fools. So it was an interesting juxtaposition, this raw humanity who didn't suffer fools. And so sometimes he could be spiky. And we found our way with all of that. And I just had such respect. And later, it's so, we had one experience doing this show. But because of creation, because of shows in Europe, we would travel together, and sometimes our spouses traveled with us too. And the four of us got to know each other and loved traveling together. Judith would be in charge of finding the restaurant that night. It was really a joyful time.
Well, the dynamics that you two had on screen were absolutely a highlight for the run of the show, and the fact that the relationship evolved on screen the way it did. I don't think they could have played it any better, and having you two end up, as that dynamic duo, I think worked out so well in the end for fans, but hopefully for your experience as well.
Oh, I loved it. I really loved it. At first, I didn't. I thought, no, this is a trope right now in the 90s. Your best friend turns out to be, the person that you love, and but this will they, won't they? And I didn't like that aspect, but it wasn't that. And what I realized as we got into it is that she wasn't with these hunks. She was with this spirit who could take any form. And I thought that was right for Kira.
Well, from a production perspective, it sure seemed like you got to do a lot of your own stunts, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Uh,
did. You always let the stunt person do it, otherwise they don't get paid. You let them do it once at least. But I would do it so that it would, if they could use it, great. But yeah, I was a dancer on Broadway. So it was fun for me to learn the choreography.
so I love hearing production stories, the behind the scenes. Obviously, there was a lot of fight sequences with the show. There's a lot of moving pieces with a sci-fi series. Is there a specific either episode or production piece, something that stands out to you that you were so excited that you got to do that was outside of your wheelhouse, prior to that?
I would say, uh, uh, was it Dr. Bashir, I presume, where I played, because this was never, ever, ever going to happen for me in my career to play this Russian spy who appears on a round bed that comes out of the wall. Just, I mean, that was unbelievably fun. And I wish that the Bond estate had allowed us to do more.
Well, I know you had your documentary, and that was actually where I first met some of your peers, and just hearing from Ira, the process of storytelling and sort of what was happening behind the scenes in terms of the level of involvement from the producers, if you will. I'm just curious, what was the aha moment for you all as far as the cast when it seemed like you had a little bit more flexibility from that long form storytelling? Was it very apparent, or was it just sort of a subtle shift when the longer form started coming into play a little bit more prevalently?
Well, that's something that we can look back on and realize how important it was. We were just busy making it. And I'm not sure that I was, aware of another way of doing it. That was our Star Trek. That's how we did it. So that's just the way it was, that we were building arcs, that we were building these people, and giving them huge backstories that they carried with them.
Well, I know you also got to return for Lower Decks for at least a brief audio appearance. How was it stepping back into Akira's character for an animated uh, performance?
Easy. She's right there. She's like right here. Just boop. Now I'm Kira. Uh, it it was fun. I loved working with Mike. I got to know Mike when I wrote the book Open a Channel and interviewed him. Got to interview a lot of the writers as well as the actors in the show, as well as the viewers, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of viewers. And I got to so appreciate who he was as a showrunner that I went back and really watched the show to see what he was doing and how he was doing it and how much he loved Star Trek, and that it took someone who loved it that much. As he said, if you love a system, you always have to question it. And that's what Lower Decks was all about.
That show just took off on its own. It was really incredible how much of the entirety of Star Trek it was able to celebrate. So I was absolutely thrilled that you and some of the other cast members got to come back to play and contribute to more of the comedy side, which we really didn't get to see much of in live action.
Yeah, me too.
You mentioned you had been a dancer, but I'd love to hear, how did you find yourself working in the world of entertainment?
It was inevitable. I actually wanted to be a writer. I went to a school that, prepped us for those things. But my parents were in show business and worked heavily in Broadway and with Broadway people. And it was just you know, I was 17 and I got a job dancing chorus one summer, and I just never stopped working after that. So the idea of going to Princeton, well, I kept deferring, and then it was like, this isn't happening. I'm already in my life. I'm already on my path.
Wonderful. Well, we are thrilled that your path led you to Deep Space Nine. The contributions you all made to the series can't, be overstated. Other question I have for you, as far as episodes, there are always, the few that stand out as far as the war moments. But I'm just curious, when it got to the war piece, it was such a tonal shift for Star Trek. In particular, with the Dominion War, I was just curious, are there any moments from that era of the show that really stand out for your performance, or just again more of things that really resonated with you?
And I can't tell you what shows they were, but there were things that I felt like I contributed. What I so wanted to do was, if I was depicting violence, not depicted in a way that glamorized it or was false about it, and how when you're really in a situation like that, um, no one has the power. The power is this, and the idea that anyone knows what's going to happen is, up in the air. And there were a few moments that I felt like I was able to bring those to really tense scenes, and I love that.
Well, I want to be respectful of time. I have one last question for you. I like ending on the personal note and not having to be about your work in the franchise, but more about the things that you're passionate about. So my question to you would be, if you could do a TED Talk on any topic whatsoever, something you're passionate about, something that, outside of work, whatever that is, what would it be and why?
I did do a TEDx talk, and it was on um, living through maximum pressure, how to understand your nervous system and your brain. So when things get tough, or something traumatic happens, you can survive it.
Well, you're the first person to actually have that up their sleeve. So I now need to go back and watch that. So I'm very excited.
You
Where
won't
did
be
you?
able to watch it because it was done at Vandenberg,
Okay.
and they made a mistake, and the curtain was down. Part of the curtain was hanging. And for all of us, and there were some wonderful speakers there, it wasn't something they could fix. So none of us got to be put there, but I got the experience of you're on and you go for 20 minutes with no notes, no nothing, just you. It was thrilling. And I was really glad to talk to the people who worked at Space Force. That was very that was great. But yes, I do wish that it was something that you could go watch.
So was that more recently then, or when did that take place?
That was just before the book came out, so about a year and a half ago. About a year
Okay.
and a half ago.
Okay. Very recent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sad that that has been lost, but the fact that you got to do it, I've heard some wonderful responses, but the fact that you've actually done it is genuinely amazing. So, are there any other projects or anything else you're working on that you'd like to promote?
Not ready to promote yet, but
Okay.
excited about.
Well, I'm hoping to see you in Chicago when you're
Oh,
here. I'm planning on being on
definitely.
site at least for part of the time, so I will make sure to come by and say hi in person.
Excellent.
Uh,
Good. Please
if
do.